Now, we're going to talk about, next little part we're going to talk about is what are considered four conventional models of types of government, how the media deals with within that form of government. It's to understand where we live in, how our country and how media works within there, and our role and how it works in other countries. Like I said, less than 50% of countries outside of of the United States have a free press, a free working press, which is kind of scary if you think about where we live in today, and this being 2020. But you got your four conventional models. You have your authoritarian, your communist or state model, your social responsibility, and your libertarian. And let's kind of get into each. Okay, this is the first of four different government forms out there and how they deal with the media. First is authoritarian. It's very dictatorial. If you remember, this is Kim Jong Un of dynasty of from North Korea. Some would say, "Oh, isn't that communist?" Well, technically they are, but they do some things that are not necessarily communist. The succession is going from grandfather to uh, father, then to son. That is not the way it works in most communist dictatorships. It's usually someone from within the party or a leader from there. So from that standpoint, but what they do is they still rule with an iron fist. The all-knowing leader, we're totally obedient where the media exists to serve the state. This is where we see preposterous things as, oh, fearless leader has gone to the golf course and had 18 holes in one. Yes, things like that were actually said, and they're absolutely preposterous. The things they put out are complete and total propaganda, complete lies about everything from how wonderful the leader is to how evil all these people are, and they're going to come to get you, and isn't life wonderful here? But everyone's scared out of their mind because they know they can be killed in a moment's notice. See, things like there after his father died, they made sure everybody was mourning in the proper way, crying in a terrible way, and terrible publicly and terribly. If they didn't, they would disappear because they weren't showing the right mourning. Yes, it's really that insane there. So also, it's publicly guided by an educated, what I call an educated ruling class. This is kind of preposterous. It's the puppets within the system, making sure that the people down the lower rungs of society are put in their place, and have no freedom and just serve the state. And they are lucky they don't come and carry them off someplace and or kill them. They're here to serve everybody and but themselves. And if they get out of line, they either die or they get arrested or some terrible aspect like that. Not a very good existence. And the media here works with the government hand in hand. They're there doing their job. Their job is to make sure the people are in compliance and put out the garbage that they put out and continue to be dictatorial to the masses. Promote social stability, making sure you have a socially stable country, so there isn't unrest and dissension among the ranks. Citizens, reporters, they are punished severely if you do question authority. This is where you can be severely beaten or disappear or killed, or your family is then killed or punished and shunned. And it is not a good existence. It is completely dictatorial. You have no rights. Everything is about the leader and the greater good for what we envision the world, and it's just pure unadulterated evil and complete destruction of any human rights. There are no human rights there. You cannot protest. You cannot have an opinion. You can't even say things of a bad way. So we have a lot of issues here, but there are a heck of a lot worse places on the planet to live. So we have the authoritarian style. Then we have the communist style. Now, I know a lot of you were not alive when the Soviet Union was around, and the half a good chunk of the countries within the Warsaw Pact, but I was. Um, I was alive for that, and I do remember that. Here in the communist style, the state is the caretaker for everyone. They own all the business. They distribute food. They distribute toilet paper. They distribute everything. Yes, you have free healthcare, but the healthcare is not all that great. You got to wait on lines. It's not good. If you're gonna die of something, you're gonna die. It better not cost that much, or you better not be too old, because then, hey, you're gonna die anyway, because it's not good for the overall society. It is the state central distributors of all your needs. We will take care of you. We will give you jobs, pay you some money, but it's not going to be a whole lot, because we make sure we take care of you, but they're really not. And the people that are at the top live like kings and queens who support this system because they're continuing the support and their favorite status, and everyone else is just in a whole lot of garbage and not being given. Yeah, they're being given stuff and having certain things to take care of, but it's not great. Life is not great at all. Um, it's the state of the society is needs over the individuals. So what you want to do, what you want to be, who you want to be, it doesn't matter. Oh, it's okay. Well, if and you do have education, but within that education, they try to figure out how you best fit the broader scheme of things for the country and for that. So they will push you towards a certain destination. They will test you, see what things you are good at, and they push you in that direction, and you don't really have any choice to go in any other direction. And if you try to do that, you'll have severe consequences against yourself or the people that you care about, because you are not putting the country ahead of your own personal needs. So who you become is who they deem you to become. And for some people, that's fine, because they find out that they're good at something. They think they're good at it, and okay, I'm happy with this, and I'm okay with that. But as you know, human beings, they might be good at something, but they don't want to do that the rest of their life. You don't really have that choice there. So there is no real movement, upward movement. There's nowhere to go. If you want to become a part of the somehow find some sort of talent within the government and you can do something like that and show some value there, then there's your chance to become upwardly mobile. But then what are you doing? You're completely dominating large societies in there and people's rights, and you might be okay, but there's lots of people who are not, and they're not having that same chance that you were. So yeah, suppression of individual goals, freedoms. There is no freedom of the press. There is no freedom of speech. It's all about the government. Yeah, we're taking care of you in these ways. We're making sure you have certain things, but you are paying dearly for them in so many other ways. So it's like there's no such thing as a free lunch. They take it to the extreme. It's all about the government. They would say, "Oh, Mother Russia," and we're talking about the Soviet Union here. There are other countries that have adopted that. Go to Cuba sometime. You'll find it's not so great. They don't have any real choice of products, and their stores are very limited. And you have secret police following you if you're not from the right place, and they're always listening to making sure you're on the up and up. And in their mind, you're not causing dissension. And not a very free society. State ownership of the media. So once again, like the authoritarian style, it's all about the country and the communism, the goal of communism, and there is massive government censorship. Once again, so there is no freedom of the press. There is no government oversight, big monitoring, because they're in charge, and if you don't go along with it, you get in trouble. So yeah, anything that's a different idea, challenges that authority, they are not tolerated. This is where you could go to a gulag to be re-educated, or go to Siberia. That was the big thing. They're getting cast off to Siberia. in jail somewhere. Maybe if you're bad enough in their eyes, bad, quote unquote, bad enough, you could die. Family, once again, could be hurt by that too. So that's what the communist form is. In this day and time that we live in, we see the thing about socialism in this country and how it's growing. This is what we are afraid of. People are saying it's not the same thing, but if you look in the things that they're talking about and the policies, you'll see lots of similarities. No one's taking a tank and bringing it down the street and having guns in your faces. But a lot of you'll find that once if you vote for it and it starts happening, you could slide down to an even more restrictive form of government. That's what a lot of people are scared of. We've seen it. We've seen it firsthand. If you go into research, you see the suffering and destruction of what has brought upon so many millions and millions and millions of people. That is what people are scared of. And to say just because we put democratic in front of it doesn't mean anything. If you think about it, in North Korea is the Democratic Republic of Korea, the DRK. It's not very democratic there. So just things to think about and to understand where people are coming from and why they are worried about certain things. Because there are certain aspects to it when it's marketed in a certain way. And as you have seen with public relations and how things are marketed and what you can convince people of what to do and how to think in a certain way, and why I always talked about with great power comes great responsibility. That's what people are scared of. That's what people are afraid of because they've seen it. Just because we live in America doesn't mean we can't lose everything that we've earned and we've been given because we do live in this country. That's what people are scared of. All right, just giving you some food for thought there when you listen to certain things or look at certain things. I'm just saying, take a look, do some research. All right, and there's social responsibility. This is usually a very much more free society. The United States is considered one of that. Britain is considered that. A lot of times with France and other countries of that nature, there is lots of different aspects of it. So it is more of a free society. Middle ground, provide fair and balanced information. It's called Libertarian Light. We're going to talk about the Libertarian style because they're even less restrictive than social responsibility. There is government oversight. There are certain things that you can and cannot say. Some people would say you're going too far. And then there's the whole other aspect of corporate interest when we talk about certain only a handful of companies owning everything. How does that affect our coverage from a media standpoint, the messages that we put out, the things that information that you are getting, how is that affecting freedom of the press and stories being told, and are we being able to do the job to oversee what these politicians, these people who are public servants, are doing. Vigorous debate is encouraged. That's the whole point of a free society. And debate is based on quick one-liners or, oh, they just dropped the mic, they're so wonderful. And they did it in a cool way, or they sound really good, or they happen to hit the right time. Is what they said true? Is it based in fact? Is it based in evidence? Because if it's not based in evidence, then it's really not a point made in the debate that's worth anything. It's just because it sounded good doesn't mean it had any substance to it. So then it all comes down to flash and substance and being able to filter that out. So having the debate, having real hard evidence and making that debate and your point in certain sides of an issue. The good debate is based in fact, as in precedent, it shows evidence of what's being talked about. It isn't just, oh, a drop the mic moment, that sounded really good. It's not if it sounded really good, was there anything to it? Was there substance? That's a big part of what we do. Is there substance? Is there truth? Is there something, a foundation in that? It's the foundation in anything we do. Also, government's viewed as a tool, not a threat to ensure debate. They're supposed to make sure that opinions are being heard, things are being put out there, and they're making sure. See, the government's not. There's a list of rules that they're not supposed to do with the Bill of Rights to us as individuals, but they're also supposed to promote debate of different issues and not just stifle one side because it suits their political means or their power base or their money base. It's about making sure that debate is vigorous because that's a free society and the government's supposed to make sure that is getting out there because it's a free society. Right? It needs to be watched. We need to watch it. We have to do homework. It's a free society. It's a lot of work. Sorry, that's the part of a free society. We have to pay attention and we have to do the job, and especially us in the mass comm field, we are the ones really that have to do it with a good amount of faith and respect and be truly vigilant in what we do. Making sure the government doesn't cross the line into censorship, doesn't violate rights, doesn't do things that are detrimental to the public. Because if they don't know, if we don't tell them, they won't know. If we're not telling them because of personal biases or because of corporate policies that we like them and so we're going to make sure that they are portrayed in a certain way and these other people are portrayed in a bad way, or that doesn't do any good. You can only go by with what facts that you have. What is the truth? And because there is no my truth and their truth and that truth, and here's the truth. Here's the thing. It's like I say, the truth travels straight ahead. The left or the right like to take it and quote unquote spin it to their own personal belief system or the message they want to make. But then by the time they're done with it, it's not the truth. Truth always travels straight ahead. It doesn't go to the left or right. And when it gets into that point, it's not the truth anymore. Got to remember that. Private government owned media. So in our country, we are privately owned. Surprisingly enough, countries like Britain, it is government owned, but only because they have very democratic traditions and rules, and they do have a set of laws that protect certain things like that. They still, even though they're government owned, they have freedom of the press still, which is kind of surprising if you think about it. But it's only because the government is doing it in good faith and protecting those rights. There's nothing there like the Bill of Rights to protect them. So it's one aspect that makes us lucky. And then a very important aspect, the fourth estate. The fourth estate is a term. It talks about the unofficial fourth branch of the government. We, the media, the press, what they do, the three brother official branches, judicial, legislative, executive, they are supposed to be checks and balances on each other. But us as the fourth estate, we're the ones keeping an eye on all of them and telling the people what is going on. Because if we don't tell people what's going on and don't keep an eye on them or put it in a way that colors it one way or another to fit a certain narrative, then we're not doing our job. We're not doing our job, and then the people can't make decisions on who is doing the job the right way or who is doing the job the wrong way. So we, as the fourth estate, are an essential aspect to any free society. Maybe something you've never heard of before, but that's what the media is supposed to be. And unless you have a trusting media that doesn't get influenced by either corporate money, policies, or preferences, or our own personal biases, then so that's because the only way we can operate is because we have to be vigilant and put out what is true. A democratic society, free society, cannot survive without a fourth estate. You have to remember that. That's why I'm so adamant about that and passionate about that. Because it all goes away if we don't stay vigilant. All right, then the fourth different type of government is libertarian. It is even more free than the social responsibility. There's lots of similarities between the two, but here it's even more. There's even more freedom to it. Individual is first and foremost the top priority. We are very libertarians are very suspicious of government. Um, they when I say extreme government limitations, the limitations are within on the government, not the government limiting people, but the rules that limit the powers of the government to be able to do certain things. And many times it could be like defense, certain things like that, other aspects like roads and stuff like that, certain things that local jurisdictions couldn't really handle. So there are certain things, a handful of things that they believe the government, federal government, needs to taken care of. But it's not a whole lot. And that's even with taxes. Some are so extreme they don't believe there should be any federal taxes. For the longest time in this country's history, there wasn't any. That's only relatively like 20th century thing that popped up when you first started seeing that. So believe it or not. So that's what I mean by extreme government limitations. Is much more limited government in there. The economy is free market, laissez-faire, hands off with that. So there's not much government oversight outside of criminal things, with like certain labor things, with child labor or those kinds of things, which makes sense. But there's lots of other laws that aren't in there at all. With that might be in bigger government there, or more even social responsible forms where they may feel they need to do things about certain aspects of business that others in this form would be considered more intrusive and not allowed. It is totally private media on that, so owned by people and not in any way, shape, or form um, influenced by the government. So no, and also not just the media, but free speech. You can say whatever you want, basically, and in this. So this might upset some people where they believe certain things should not be said. In this model, it's like you might not like it, and in that case, you may say change the channel or walk away, and or because that's the mentality in that. Some people are for that. Some people don't feel as comfortable with that. Remember, it's libertarian. It's about the liberty of individual rights. And then there's the vigorous government criticism, and there's no retribution with that. So you can say, oh, I don't like this person, or this president, or this governor, or this whoever is not my cup of tea. I don't like them. And you have no retribution for that. Basically, so you're seeing lots of debate, lots of criticism in there. Another aspect that is a little different from there is free social policies, meaning there's things there usually for their platform is lots of times the legalization of drugs, all drugs. They say it's a person's right to do what they want, and you can and let them do it. And if it has something bad happens, that's on them. Also, prostitution is considered one. Now, I haven't really gotten into the whole aspect of human trafficking with that aspect. I don't really know their policy when it comes to that. They do have laws, and there are certain laws that are constant, so it's not like the Wild West or anything like that. So there are lots of laws for things of crimes like that. So it's not there's no anarchy going on, but so that's the different thing about them. They're in some ways you might find them to be conservative, but then when you look at the social policies, you'll find them to be quite liberal with that. So that is the difference in today's world and the world that has been presented to you, to what the way from a political standpoint where we live in. So it's a little bit of both. Some people like some parts, some people like other parts, and it all depends. Another aspect of this is there's not, since it is limited government, you're not having a whole lot of social programs and stuff like that. So people are basically either on their own, or they want to have like it could be private industry doing these things, or religious institutions dealing with these things, or public organizations, or grassroots campaigns, which they're all people are allowed to have and all that, 'cause it's a libertarian thing, and take care of all those things, and that's what they promote. You want to do that, by all means, create that, do that. And that's where you come at. So that's another aspect some of you might not be comfortable with. So you'll find a variety of different things. Very much very freedom, but there's some aspects that some people might feel more comfortable with having some controls over certain things. I mean, that's each individual. If you don't know, this is Gary Johnson. He was a presidential candidate a couple times, the Libertarian. So he was also governor of New Mexico for a little while. This is Luxembourg. It's a small country in Europe. It's considered one of the more libertarian countries in the world. We are one of them, and we're usually in the top 5. Canada is usually there. I've seen some other countries out there, and it kind of varies a little bit. But yeah, so I'm just giving you a reference of what you're looking at there. So yes, 4 very different types of government, and 4 different types of how media is utilized in those governments.